Hey traders, I'm excited to continue our series on God's creation method and how that applies to your trading. To catch you up, we're still in Genesis. We're still in Genesis chapter 1. We're about 4 verses in. So far, God has created the heavens and the earth, and He's separated the darkness into light and dark. He separated the light from the dark. He steps into the chaos of the situation and says, this over here, this is good. This is the light. This is good. And how often do we want that in our lives? In our lives and in our trading life. You start off trading, whether it's for the first time or a new market or a new strategy or new whatever, and it just feels chaotic. But God steps in and says, I'm going to separate. And as we look for the first few days of creation, we see this theme over and over again. He separates this from that, this from that. So we get to this point, God has come in and He says, hey, this over here, this is how you're going to be a trader. This is what you're going to do in your trading. This is the way you're going to be. Generally speaking, for most traders, you've got trend and counter trend. That's about it, right? Yeah, range trading, but it can kind of be considered counter trend. There's two ways to do this. All we're really doing, by the way, in our trading is looking at where price has been and figuring out where price is going to go. Again, binary situation. That's all God is doing. He separated this from that. And then in verse 6, it says, then God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters to divide the waters above and below. Again, He's just dividing. And for me, I look at this and say, okay, well, there's two ways to trade. There's two ways that price moves, right? We got up and we got down. Yeah, sideways, but in general, up and down. And we can go with it or against it. And even in the midst of with it or against it, we've got two different ways. Well, how does one trade price? Let's say you're going with trend. Well, you can trade a breakout, you can trade a pullback. Everything boils down to these simple steps of do I want to do this or that, this or that, this or that. And you look at it, and we've got, I'm taking the 6 days of creation and lumping them into 5. And every step of the way, it's just, are we going to do this or are we going to do that? And I think this is the clarity that most people need in their trading. And this is what God brings. Out of the chaos and confusion of the void, He brings clarity. And He does it by simply saying, all right, this or that, we're going that way. This or that, we're going that way. So as you get to the end of the year and you're evaluating your trading, just look at it through a simple series of yes or no. Do I do this or that? This or that? Allow God to come into your chaos and provide clarity. We're going to talk about this all week long. So if you have any questions, just go to godlytrading.com and reach out to us.